All right. Good evening, my friends, and happy Mother's Day to all the mothers here, and to our mothers, wherever they are, right? Our mothers at home. And we owe so much to our mothers for all they do for us and for putting up with people like me. So that we owe our mothers a lot. And also a special welcome tonight to all of our engaged couples who have been on marriage retreat this weekend. We thank you for being here and being so attentive this weekend. So, my sisters and brothers, it's appropriate today that our gospel is about love. In fact, the command to love appears more times in the Gospel of John than it does in all the other Gospels combined. And why? Why is love so important to John? It's because Jesus condenses all the commandments down to that one very word, love. We're to love God and we're to love one another. But as we know, love in our culture takes many forms, and I think we tend to use love so casually now, don't we? I love my job. I love my car, my Lexus. I love the Longhorns when they win. I love wine. I love my dogs. We see that kind of love. That's love, but it's not what Jesus is referring to. That is not the love that he is calling us to. He's calling us to a much different love. It's more than nice thoughts and warm feelings and emotions. It's the kind of love that requires action. It requires us to do something. And it's sacrifice. It's self-denial. It's a complete sharing of you, of all that you have, and of all your being for another person. And recall, this is not one of our readings, but everybody who's been to a wedding has heard St. Paul describe this to the Corinthians. Remember what he said about love? Patient, kind, generous, not jealous, not rude, not angry, because love bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. Love never fails. And my friends, this passage is not a fantasy of what would be nice to have as love. It's a roadmap of how we are supposed to live and how we're supposed to love one another. It's said that the only thing better than to be loved is to love another person. It's the kind of love that emanates from God through the Holy Spirit to us. It's a love of other people, not of yourself. And that is why today we heard Jesus say, I'm going to send you the advocate. That's why the Holy Spirit is so important to us, because Jesus knew that the love of God and Jesus needed to find its way to us. It needed to be here with us, and that's the Holy Spirit. It's easy to lose sight of love, isn't it? We're busy, bad things happen, people hurt us. Sometimes love is difficult. But just as the apostles were starting to feel like they were going to get abandoned, Jesus knows that sometimes we feel abandoned, we feel lost, we feel unloved. And that is why the Holy Spirit is here. He is the advocate. He's the comforter. He's the companion. He's the champion. He's our defender. Also a definition as lawyer, but I'm not throwing that one in. All right. So my favorite professor in seminary, Monsignor James Anderson, he always described the Holy Spirit as the love between God the Father and Jesus the Son. That was the Holy Spirit. It was the glue. It was the binding between God and his Son. And that's what comes down to us, the love of God through the Holy Spirit. And I read a very interesting interpretation of the Holy Spirit recently. And scholars were in an ancient, sort of an isolated tribe in Africa, were translating the Bible for this tribe. And they had no word for advocate or lawyer, surprise. So these scholars were trying to figure out, so how do we translate the word advocate? So they watched the people of this tribe, and whenever they had to go on a journey or go get water or food, all the people would have their supplies on their back except for one person. One person carried nothing. And you know why? Because when anybody fell or anybody became exhausted, that person fell down beside them. That's the word they used. They used the word that is the one who falls down beside us. My friends, that's the Holy Spirit. He falls down beside us. He knows our burdens. He comes to us, and he lifts us up. And this is what Jesus is trying to describe to us. That is the love he's talking about. It's a sacrificial love. It's when you fall down beside someone to pick them up. As he said, there's no greater love than to lay down your life for another person. That is what Jesus is referring to. And it's a love that Father Houston and I are blessed because we see a lot of couples. We counsel we do a lot of weddings. We get to meet people in the prime of their love. We get to see that raw, young love. And so for my couples that are here, and I don't know how he does it, I always ask my couples, tell me why you love each other. Write it down. I want you to write down, and real reasons too, not silly stuff. But I always get, I've heard a bunch of reasons, but I get some interesting ones sometimes. I'm going to share some of the lighter ones with you. This is a recent one. I love him because he has golden retriever energy. He did. I love her because she smells like fresh flowers in the morning. Nice. I love him because he brings me rays of sunshine. I love him because he's kind of cute. He was handsome, by the way. She was too. They're a handsome couple. But I also get to hear the ones that really tear at your heart. I love her because she pulls me closer to God. I love him because he makes me feel safe and secure. Because when I'm with him, I have no fears or doubts in this world. I love him because he is supportive, kind, and unconditionally loving. He is selfless to me and everyone. I love him because no matter what is going on, I know that I can always depend on him to love me and support our marriage. Because when it really counts, I know that he will always choose us. My sisters and my brothers, that's the kind of love that we all want, but it's the kind of love we can have. We just have to call on the Holy Spirit. Come, Holy Spirit, fill us with your love. Fill us with the love of God. So as you think about that commandment to love, think about it. Think about how well you love. I want you to think of this. This is a true story. In a small West Texas town, there was a famous author was sitting at a diner with a young couple next to him, a young foreign couple. And when they were finished eating, the young man got up and went and paid the bill. And the writer's watching him, and he came back, and when he did, I get emotional about this, the woman raised her hands up in the air, put her arms around his neck, and he lifted her up. And at that moment, the author recognized that she was paralyzed from the waist down. And he gently picked her up and he carried her out to the truck and he put her in the truck and they took off. That diner was quiet. Everybody stopped eating, had watched this happen. And for moments, nothing happened. And then one waitress finally said, that man took his vows seriously. Do you take your vows seriously? Do you? Do we take Jesus' commandment to love, not just our spouse, but our family, our friends, our neighbors, our enemies? Do we take that to heart? Because, my friends, the commandment to love was not a suggestion. It was not a request. It was not a nice thought. It was a commandment to love. Sometimes we don't feel like it. Sometimes it's not convenient. But we are called to love and honor each other in sickness and health, for richer, for poorer, for all the days of our life. So, my friends, I'm asking you tonight to think about, call the Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit is the love of God. Call him into your life. Call him into your marriage. Call him into your relationships. He is the one who falls down beside us and lifts us up. And when you do, when you have that love, you too can be like the Holy Spirit. When your spouse is down, when your family is down, you too can fall down beside them and lift them up. But when we keep that Holy Spirit here, that is the love of God dwelling in us right here. And that, my friends, is a love that will never fail.